My husband pretended to be depressed for a year so I would support him financially. He was actually funding his secret double life. I, 32F, have been married to my husband, Ryan, 35M, for 6 years. We met in grad school. He was charming, incredibly smart, and he had this sort of tortured artist persona that I fell for immediately. He was getting his MFA in creative writing, I was finishing my MBA. We balanced each other out, or so I thought. Ryan was intense, passionate. He could talk for hours about poetry, post-structuralism, and the death of the American dream. Our first date lasted 10 hours. I remember sitting in a booth with him at a hole-in-the-wall diner at 2 a.m., thinking, I've never met anyone who sees the world like this. He made me feel like life didn't have to be a spreadsheet. From the beginning, money was a touchy topic. I landed a solid corporate job a few months after graduation. Ryan struggled. He said he couldn't work in a cubicle, it drained his soul. I respected that. I told him I'd cover us while he wrote his novel. I even created a small, creative fund in our budget so he could go to readings, workshops, or lock himself in a cabin to write. The first 2 years were fine. He wrote sporadically, helped around the house, cooked, and was loving, if a bit distant. I kept expecting that he'd click into something. But he was always just on the edge of starting something big. A novel. A screenplay. A podcast. It was always almost. I carried us through financially, believing he'd pay it back when his real work took off, but then COVID hit, and everything changed. Ryan spiraled. He stopped writing. Stopped doing much of anything. He said he felt empty. He couldn't get out of bed some days. His brain was foggy. He said he thought he was depressed. Naturally, I was worried. I urged him to see a therapist, but he said he couldn't find one he trusted. I begged him to let me help him set up appointments. He always had a reason not to. Too expensive. Too clinical. Too judgmental. Eventually, I stopped pushing. I figured he'd come around in his own time. Over the next year, I became the sole breadwinner. I paid the mortgage, the bills, his credit cards. I cooked, cleaned, shopped, and took care of everything. I worked from home and took meetings with executives while folding his laundry in the background. I covered for him with friends and family. I even lied to my mom when she asked why Ryan never joined our Sunday Zoom calls. He's just sleeping poorly, I said. He's tired. But I was the tired one. He began disappearing for hours at a time. He said he was walking to clear his head or driving to get out of the house. Sometimes he wouldn't respond to texts for the entire afternoon. He said he was turning his phone off for his mental health. I told myself it was part of the process. Maybe he needed space. Maybe he was trying to feel again. Then came the lies. One night, I saw an Uber receipt on his email for a drop-off location 45 minutes away, some random apartment complex. When I asked about it, he said he went to see an old friend who was struggling more than him. We talked about therapy together, he told me. He looked me in the eyes when he said it. Held my hands. Said it helped him realize he wasn't alone. I believed him. I wanted to believe him, but something kept nagging at me. I couldn't put my finger on it, but I felt like I was living with a stranger wearing my husband's face. I finally snooped. I checked our joint credit card, which I rarely looked at because I just auto-paid it every month. There were charges that didn't make sense: expensive dinners, hotel stays, boutique stores I'd never heard of. All while he was supposedly lying in bed with depression. I confronted him. He broke down crying. He admitted he'd been escaping, and that he had been staying at hotels when things got overwhelming. He said he didn't want me to see him in those states. He said he was embarrassed. That he loved me but didn't want to taint me with his darkness. I almost bought it. Almost, but my best friend, who works in fraud prevention, offered to do a little digging on the side. What she found shattered everything. Ryan had been living a double life. He had a second phone. A secret Instagram account. And a woman, Mara, 29F, a bartender he met 2 years ago. She thought I was the crazy ex who couldn't let go. He told her we divorced in 2021 and that I was just financially obsessed and couldn't handle his free spirit. I found pictures of them vacationing in Puerto Vallarta. He told me he was at a meditation retreat. There were pictures of her wearing lingerie I found in our laundry and thought I had just forgotten buying. There was even a video, him filming her in the mirror, kissing her neck, whispering that she was his muse. I sat on our bathroom floor and sobbed until my chest physically hurt. I confronted him again. This time, I didn't go soft. I showed him the pictures, the receipts, the texts. He tried to spin it, of course. Claimed he was confused, lost, and depressed. Said he didn't know how to break it off with her. That he was trying to protect my feelings. That he loved both of us. I filed for divorce within a week, but here's the twist that still haunts me. Everything, including her apartment, was paid for with money from me. Not just household money, he had taken out a personal loan in my name. He had access to some of my info from when I helped him refinance a car years ago. $25,000. He bought her a car. A used white Jeep. With my name on the financing. I'm pressing charges. My lawyer says I have a strong case for identity theft and fraud, but the emotional damage? That's harder to quantify. I've had to move back in with my sister. My savings are gutted. My credit took a hit. My job performance tanked. I lost a promotion. But the worst part is the deep humiliation. The sense that I was played, completely and deliberately. Like a mark in a long con. I keep wondering how many nights he lay next to me, texting her under the blankets. He didn't have cancer. He didn't have depression, at least not in the way he claimed. He had options. He had support. He just chose to lie, steal, and cheat because it was easier. Because the version of me that loved and trusted him was more useful than the version that would have told him no. I'm in therapy now. I'm rebuilding slowly. I've learned more about identity theft, narcissism, and trauma bonding in the past 3 months than I ever wanted to. My credit is frozen. My passwords are all changed. My empathy is guarded now, Mara, and I ended up messaging a bit. She apologized. Profusely. She told me he convinced her I was controlling and manipulative. That he was trying to get out 4 years, but I kept threatening to ruin him financially. She cried when I told her the truth. She said she thought she was the love of his life. I said, so did I. I don't know if I'll ever trust someone again the way I trusted him. But I do know this, I deserved better. I still do, and I'll never confuse chaos for depth again.